Hello, world. My name is Elmer Moore, and I'm project team lead for Scale Up Milwaukee in lovely and warm January, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm excited to talk to Mike Ryan today, who is the head of RSP, and we're going to learn about what he's doing to grow his business and the history of his business. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mike Ryan. I'm the CEO of RSP Inc. in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are a custom contract manufacturer. We do a variety of products from consumer to industrial, medical. And then I'm also the recent founder of Best Bee Brothers. So it's a new enterprise that I've just gotten involved in, and I'm really excited to talk about that a little more.
I'm happy to hear about it. So let's go first and do the history. Um, RSP, how did it start? Who started it, and how'd you get there?
A great history. We're a third generation family owned business. So my father's brother actually started the business, and then my father quickly joined them. They did a lot of real estate signs in Milwaukee. They did stuff for Schlitz and Pabst and Rockwell and Harley. So as they grew a little bit, their father joined them, and he worked here for about 15, 20 years. My brother's worked here, most of his life. I took a little roundabout path through consulting in Chicago and medical consulting and sales, and but ultimately ended up back here about 11 years ago, and things have been going great ever since.
So what I just heard you describe is your business and the business that your father built, doing great work for companies that really aren't as large as they used to be. I think of Pabst and I think of Schlitz. So how did you guys survive when Schlitz didn't?
Well, I think I think the family was tight knit and they stuck together. So there's definitely been ups and downs throughout the years. When I joined the company, we only had about 10, 12 employees, and we're a much smaller footprint than we are now. So, I think my brother and I combining and having complementary skills and backgrounds really helped us take a new path and ignite the growth. So, but it's not easy. It doesn't happen automatically, and there's definitely, ups and downs and some things that almost wiped us out, but you make it through it and it makes you stronger.
So when did you come back to the business?
The day my son was born, really. So it was like 2004. We were in Chicago and we made the transition up here, and joined my brother and wanted to see what we could do.
And you came in explicitly with an interest to grow.
Absolutely. I worked in consulting, like I said, and I worked with a lot of companies who, through public offerings and on high growth curves, and I wanted to do the same thing. I'll be honest, my wife also said if I didn't make a certain salary in the next 2 years, I'd be out. So, it puts pressure on you, having a family. And then, like I said, I just had my son was born, and so there was new pressures there, and I just wanted to see what I could do. And I started 2 businesses previously that had gone all right, but ultimately not made it through. And so this was my third chance, and I wanted to really make it happen.
So it's 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
You come back from the big city, you're going to work in the family business where you really don't know how to do anything. But you act. What's the first thing you do to initiate that growth?
Honestly, I think I spent the first weekend cleaning, catching up on that. No, seriously, I looked around. We had some really good people. We had a lot of really good customers, but we weren't doing a lot of work for them. There were definitely opportunities to expand within those customers. But looking around, I saw quickly that we didn't have the capacity to even create huge growth here. The equipment was outdated. We needed to make a major change, and so one of my first actions was I jumped on a plane and flew to China. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. I knew I needed a manufacturing partner there. But I was pretty blind, and back then, there weren't the translators on your phone and all that like we have now. So I got off at the airport and I had to figure it out. Ultimately, I sought a couple different vendors, and we just started. And there's a big, huge learning curve. That things did not always go smoothly in the beginning. We worked through these offshore. We call them partners. There's ups and downs. But ultimately, we realized, if we wanted to establish a long-term manufacturing capabilities there and long-term quality and really serve our customers best, we needed our own facilities. So we've opened 2 controlled facilities there now, and that's where the majority of our work is done.
How much time between your arrival and a real uptick in revenue?
We were lucky. There were some great projects that started off right away. We had a couple, like I said, some existing projects that we had in house here in Milwaukee, and those continued to go strong for a while. Um, so we started showing growth from the first year on. We've actually shown growth every year since I joined the company, with the exception of one. And the only reason we didn't show growth that year is our largest customer went bankrupt and wiped out a huge chunk of our our booked revenue, which became a write-off. So, we've really focused on growth. I believe as a company, you're either growing or you're dying. And that's the motivator for me, and I stand behind that, and I push that, and I push it out to my employees as well.
So if you're comfortable to give numbers, we'd happily love to hear them, but I'd love to hear what the difference is in the size of the company in 2005 and where it is now.
It's a big difference. So, the year before I joined the company, our revenue numbers were under 400,000 per year. This year, with our 3 different entities, we'll do over $10 million.
That is just fantastic. That's the kind of growth story that you would expect to be on the cover of every business magazine, Inc. 5000, all the rest. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
So you've got a stable footing. You're making the salary that your wife demanded that you make.
Oh, no, that took longer. I'm sorry.
How long did it take you to get to that point?
Oh, you know what? It was showing promise. So I think she gave me 4 or 5 years, actually. Okay. But we made it through.
I like it. I like it. So, a couple of years ago, I'm presuming you started to diversify the operation a little bit, and even to the degree of starting this new business parallel to from inside. How does that work?
A great story. About 6 months ago, we were contacted by somebody who found us on the internet, which is how most of our customers come our way, and he wanted us to make a carpenter bee trap for him. He'd had great sales a couple of years ago. He had a patented product. He hadn't protected his patent, so there were a lot of people knocking it off, but he wanted to get back into it. He hired the attorneys to fight the patent issues. But he wanted us just to make the product. And as I talked to him, as I do all customers, I dig into the business a little bit. How do you sell? How do you market? How are you doing this? I started asking why questions. Why aren't you selling more? Why aren't you doing this? And, long story short, he said at a certain point, well, do you want to sell them? And, I looked at my brother, who's my business partner here, and we kind of shook our heads. And, at that point, we were kind of in. It took a few months to kind of reach the agreement where we're actually just licensing his product from him, paying him royalties. There's some investment up front, but really, he wanted us to take over all aspects of it and just get his check at the end of the month. And so we're happy to help him do that. It's also interesting. Every year I do an employee questionnaire across our offices here in the US and China. And the number one comment every year is, why don't we make our own product? We're so reliant on everyone else. And, ultimately we can put a lot of work into something. And if our customer doesn't sell it, that means we don't make it, which means we don't sell it. So this is our really, we've had some little minor products over the years, but this is our first big foray into something like this. And, we're excited to get it going. It's a great opportunity for us, and, great opportunity to drive, a new channel of growth. And it's outside of our typical business, but like I said, we really manufacture a lot of different things. So the things that we're putting together here are all things we have experience with and can really do well at. So we're excited. We've only had a couple weeks here under our belt and getting our initial sales and getting everything up and ramped up. But we're ahead of where we thought we'd be, and we're just headed into the carpenter bee season. So that's that'll be an exciting time for us. We're going to really see what happens at that point. So.
If I hear you correctly, what you're doing is in a lot of ways like starting over. And I'm curious to hear what you're doing this time because of what you learned last time. I'd love for you to be able to communicate some actionable takeaways for anyone else out there, growing their business, launching a new business, or what have you, to do it better, because you've got, fantastic. You've proven yourself 20 times over, and you're doing it again. So what are you going to do better this time?
What's been really interesting is, I'll turn 40 this week, actually. So it's my birthday week here, and
happy birthday.
And I was thinking about this. I couldn't do what I do today without all that groundwork, without all that framework, without all that education, without all that learning that came before it. So I learned from I try to absorb information. I love to ask people questions. I think sometimes I make people nervous because they wonder why I'm asking so many questions. But everyone who owns a business or works in a business or has different experience than me can teach me. So I feel like a sponge. I feel like I just absorb well. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I utilize all my resources and what people share with me, and the culmination of all that experience I'm applying to this business. So it's really, like you said, it's a full endeavor here. We're starting with nothing and building in a complete business in a matter of weeks, including the marketing, manufacturing, social media, pricing schedules, shipping. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving pieces all at once. But you make a plan and you organize it and you set deadlines for yourself and those around you, and you get through it. And like I said, we're kind of ahead of where we thought we'd be at this point, and we're only really a couple weeks into it. So
I look forward to talking to you in a few months to see how it's going.
It'll be good.
So Mike, you all are participants in Scale Up Milwaukee's growth training program called the Scalerator, which to me is an indication that you think Milwaukee is a great place to grow your business. You're committing to growing, your few businesses here. Why Milwaukee, and why Milwaukee?
I guess in terms of the Scale Up program, first of all, I would say, that's exactly what I was talking about in my last comment there about being a sponge, being able to absorb from different people. So there's great instructors coming in. If I sit there for the whole day and I get 1, 2, 3 great ideas out of it, it's time well spent. And I'm getting more than that, but I'm also learning from those people around me. So hearing people's stories and getting their advice and learning from kind of their mistakes as well here and there. It's just part of what makes me a better business person. So I would say that first of all. Why Milwaukee? I started here. These are my roots. These are my I'll say these are my people. I love Milwaukee for a city its size. It offers so much. People in the Midwest have a certain mentality, a certain way of doing business, and I really appreciate that as well. I lived in Chicago for 10 years, and that's a good city, but coming up here slows things down a little bit, get the yard and a nice house and all that. It just gives me a great opportunity. It's a great place to kind of set roots down and grow both personally and as a business.
I love it. Let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think I'm just happy to be where I'm at today. I think in general I work hard and I make my own luck. One of my least favorite comments is someone says, "Oh, you got lucky," when they talk about my business or see my business, and that has nothing to do with it. I'll tell you, it's all about hard work, creating opportunities, and ultimately seizing those opportunities when they present themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. So Mike Ryan, and from CEO of RSP Inc., thank you so much for speaking with us today. And to everyone out there in the audience, please keep growing those businesses so that we can scale up Milwaukee and in fact scale up the economies of all of our nations. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.